Welcome to JHC. I'm CJ, and today we will be talking about 5 different job posting red flags. One thing I noticed when looking for jobs is that sometimes the description is a turnoff. See, these jobs have descriptions because they want to tell you about the requirements and expectations they expect you to live up to as you are working that job. But in the process, they tend to also tell on themselves and about the culture at that job. Today, I want to give you 5 things jobs say that are an instant red flag. And if you see these in a job description, you need to exit out that browser window and run away as fast as you can. The first red flag that you may see is we're looking for someone who can wear many hats. The translation here, they want 3 jobs for 1 salary. This is the number 1 phrase that companies use when they can't afford the staff they actually need. So you will be, for example, doing your role, doing someone else's role, doing a managerial role without the training, and then you get blamed if and when any and all parts of it fall apart. And they'll act shocked when you're burnt out or be frustrated at you for not being able to manage your burnout well. And I told y'all before, I worked at a nonprofit gig, and that type of thing is really prevalent there. They want you to do your job, assist your teammates, do extra work, do someone else's job, stay over hours to do last minute work they throw at you, do things that you weren't given basic training on, and then still be able to function and manage. And the sad part is they'll try and pay you half of what a damn executive director would make or less. The second red flag is that it's a fast-paced environment or a high sense of urgency. Here's the translation. They're chronically understaffed and chaotic. They're telling you the work is overwhelming and they have no intention of fixing it. Urgency culture equals disorganization plus crisis management plus endless pressure. They expect you to thrive in chaos and be cool with last-minute duties and expectations being thrown at you. And when you ask for things, they usually don't have it and expect you to be resourceful enough to figure it out on your own. And then if you don't comply or adapt, it becomes punitive. And with most companies being at will and having this type of policy, they can get rid of you for anything under the sun. The third red flag is if they say, we're like a family. Now, let me give you the translation. They want emotional loyalty to justify abuse. Here's the thing. Real jobs don't need to become your family. Family in job descriptions usually means blurred boundaries, favoritism, guilt tripping, and no raises because, quote unquote, we're all in this together. When you see this, run and run fast as hell. When they say we're like family, what they really mean is we are like a toxic family. If you're a millennial like myself, you probably are all too familiar with the concept of there being toxic family structures where there are poor boundaries, people disrespecting you, and there being the expectation that you take it. You're probably also familiar with unnecessary drama and being expected to just absorb it. And they also believe that they are entitled to your loyalty because you all share a common bond. In the case of real families, they mean blood. And in the case of your quote unquote work family, they mean your employment or place of work itself. And they will do this all under the guise of saying that they're just being real with you, wanting to see better from you, or wanting to see your quote unquote growth. Hell, they may even claim to care about you, but their actions will definitely speak differently. The fourth red flag is flexible duties or other responsibilities as assigned. The translation here, we will add random tasks whenever we feel like it and you can't complain. This phrase is how they legally protect themselves when they slowly change your role into something that you never signed up for in the first place. They have a tendency to give you things you are never trained on and will even be squirrely and weird when you ask for help. One thing I noticed is some jobs will have those smart ass, quote unquote, employees who really aren't that smart. They are just difficult and they wear cynicism and sarcasm like it's a personality. And these assholes will have strange boundaries and hang-ups around question asking. And usually, when it comes to those extra tasks that you were given, these are the types of people who you're forced to consult because often management will be clueless about what you're asking about. And usually they'll attempt to direct you to maybe some random resource that may or may not help you, or the people who can actually do it, because usually they themselves can't do shit. Yet they'll collect a bigger paycheck than anyone else there. With that being said, I once had this coworker at an old job of mine who was just like how I described. He'll get into this thing where he's like, there's a difference between an informed question and an uninformed question when I would ask certain questions. He set a threshold on what he expected me to know up front before coming to him, and he would change what that looked like every single time, and after a while, I just didn't want to ask him shit anymore. See, you have to walk on eggshells with these types of people. But if you mess the shit up, then they'll write you up for it or attempt to get you fired. And usually they do that because they are either strapped for time or annoyed that they have to train the new person, so they get pissy and attempt to justify their pissiness. The point here is, it is what it is, but it's something that you need to watch out for and know that it's going to potentially come with this type of description. They will give you these random tasks and responsibilities and then expect you to do them even if you've never been trained on it. Fifth red flag is you must have thick skin. The translation for this is the environment is toxic and we're warning you ahead of time. This generally means unprofessional behavior is normal, management refuses to intervene, and disrespect is built into the culture. The people who last here are usually numb and they're not very happy. In my last job, when I first applied, I asked them, what is the requirement for a good candidate for this job? And the first thing that the person interviewing me said was thick skin. At the time, because I did a job where I had to listen to people and their social issues quite a bit, it made sense in theory. But later I found out he also meant tough skin in dealing with the people who were actually on the job as well too. Some of the people would talk down to you, talk at you, or would just have a volatile personality. You think going in, you are being told about needing tough skin for the work that you do or dealing with really tough issues, but really they also mean in taking their bullshit to the chin and or being able to say things back. And looking back after all the time I spent at that job, that's exactly what happened. To be honest, dealing with the clients actually was a pleasure compared to some of the stuff that I had to deal with when it came to office politics. And I had a few people here or there that would be tripping, but when I say it was only a few, it may have been a few to 4 people every 4 years after having hundreds of clients. The office politics at a certain point were a problem on a daily basis though. And that man in particular who interviewed me wasn't someone I worked with very long, but when he left, the people who were working there told me stories about how much they didn't like his behavior. And the thing is that folks needing to have thick skin to even put up with that nonsense became a norm in this workplace. In short, these are some of the big red flags that come up. I'm sure you have already seen many of them, and there will probably be many more that you will see as you are looking for jobs and trying to further your career. But you want to make sure that you look out for these things and you're able to spot them early before you make a commitment to apply to this type of job and potentially have an interview and devote your time and energy to a particular workspace. This was JHC. For those of you all who liked this video and got something informative for it, please subscribe, also share as well too. I will be giving more tips on things to avoid in the job world and around it as well too. And we will also talk candidly about what's going on in the job world as well too. All right, I'll talk to you all later.